The collection itself is vast. It comprises of over 5,000 glass negative plates and original prints from those glass negative plates, and also, as my grandfather, the photographer, moved on with the technology of the times, there are also prints from cellulose and roll film. The fortunate part of it is that a lot of these images are backed up by documentation, the meticulous camera diaries that my grandfather kept, and also his wonderful habit, if I'll call it habit, of keeping a copy of all correspondence he wrote and keeping all correspondence that he received. So we have correspondence, we have letters, we have documents, we also have his personal photographic library. He had a wonderful collection of books, and we have, and this is most fortuitous, we have the cameras and the equipment with which he took those photographs at that time. Limerick was to Franz it was his hometown. The name itself, Haselbeck, people say surely not a Limerick name, but in fact it has become synonymous with Limerick over the last few generations, a little bit like the Normans. The Haselbecks came to Ireland and became more Irish than the Irish themselves, and he adored and knew every nook and cranny of his city. My grandfather I knew so well, really just as Grandad. He could, to the outside world at the time, seem a little austere. He was certainly the classic Victorian paterfamilias. He could be quite stern. That was all tempered with a marvellous sense of humour and his love of music and dancing. He was devoted to his family, devoted to his wife. I know that he genuinely liked women. He liked them for their beauty, for their femininity, and was quite an advocate of the equality of women, quite a man before his time. In appearance, he was very dapper. I think, perhaps from his travels in France, he adopted the look that we may attribute to that of a French artist. He always had a beret and a beautiful jacket and was very, very smart in his attire. From a very early age, it was shown that he had artistic tendencies, and it certainly would not have been his wish to become a gut merchant, as the family were at that time. So rather than that, and eventually with his family blessing, he went to Dublin first, to the Metropolitan School of Art, and then went to be an apprentice, or was indentured to Finnerty's Studios in Westmoreland Street in Dublin. But I realised that he was working from a very, very young age. The first photograph I think we see of his is from 1902, and he worked for almost 70 years. He was a master of lighting, a master of composition, and there I think we see his artistic and his formal art training stands to it, because many of the pictures in themselves look like paintings. Initially, he had a studio at his home in Wolfstone Street. He always kept one there, in fact. But he had a number of studios, not running simultaneously, but at different times. In this exhibition and in the museum, you'll have an opportunity to see some of the equipment that was used by the photographer over the course of his career, from the very early cameras, those beautiful, beautiful brass and mahogany handmade cameras, right on through. His lenses were early Bausch and Lomb, enormous collection that still survive. We're very fortunate with those. And then he proceeded, being a lover of technology and moving forward, he proceeded to work with Voigtlander land cameras, Rolleiflex, Rolleicord in his latest career, right on through. So we also have almost got a history of the camera as well as a history of our city. It's almost a miracle that this collection survives at all for us to see today, because when I inherited it, and I was extremely lucky because my father had been meticulous in saving it, but it moved with me through my life for 2 decades, and that journey at times was perilous because we survived 2 accidental fires and floods, and in the course of that some of it got damaged, some of it got sadly lost, but most was saved. But I suppose I'm going to say that it came almost from biscuit tins and boxes and shoe boxes to the walls of City Hall. And it was slow journey. First the conservation, and then a number of years of trying to identify images. Suddenly the face of an anonymous old man would become John Daly, 3 times Fenian Mayor of Limerick, or Archbishop Mannix suddenly appeared. I had no idea who these people were until the research began. And that was done with great help from the general public who had seen some of the images and from local historians and historians countrywide. While it may seem long in today's term, the process of restoration and identification, and to bring it to this point, to bring it to the point of a book which has recently been published on the Franz S. Haselbeck Collection, Franz S. Haselbeck's Ireland, has taken from 2007 to today. So I'd say this process has taken 6 years of almost obsessive, compulsive research and gazing at images endlessly, correspondence endlessly, until all the pieces of the jigsaw began to fit together and we came to a point where we could mount this exhibition. The images that you'll see here in the exhibition are selected from the very, very broad subject matter that my grandfather covered during his lifetime, and starting with a little bit of his early work in Kerry, but concentrating really on the photographs he took of the life of this city, the social life of this city, the industrial life of this city, the military life, the revolutionary life of this city, the studios, the faces, the people, and the great events that make up people's lives, the marriages, the communions, the christenings, even the funerals. But I suppose a large part of it, and from a historic point of view, I think that the work that he did by photographing British Army, volunteers, and the Royal Irish Constabulary, the RIC, I think in doing that he was taking quite a risk as a young man, stepping in and out of every camp, even though I must say I know that he was apolitical. He had no leaning on either side. That wasn't to say that he wasn't affected by that, because his brother in fact was in the volunteers, and like many families a little split came in the camp there, which resulted in one of his studios ending up being vandalised. It is so wonderful that in this year of 2014, the year of the City of Culture, that we have been invited to show a Limerick man's work at home in Limerick.